everybody. I'm Marla with 9 Health, and this is our weekly episode of Health Happens. We are outside in the sunshine today, and we're here with Michael Silverstein, and you're a climatologist, you're a scientist, and we're going to learn a little bit about air quality in a minute. Last week, we bring you a topic that you care about every week, and last week we talked a little bit about spring cleaning, because it is spring, and how that's actually good for your mental health. So if you missed it, go ahead and check it out on our Facebook page. We're going to get started here. We are, as you can see, it's sunny today, and that's significant. We're going to find out why. So thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it, Mom. Thank you.
So you're the executive director of the Regional Air Quality Council. That's a mouthful.
It is.
It is.
But it's a great organization.
Yes, and very, very important. And it has dramatic effects on our health every single day that we might not think about. And so we're going to learn about that. And you can tell us from your experience, because you have studied this for decades, you said.
I have.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about what is this thing, ozone, ground level ozone? When I think of ozone, I might think of the atmosphere.
Sure. Well, ground level ozone is our air pollutant issue of concern here in Metro Denver and up and down the Front Range of Colorado. We are in violation of federal health standards for ozone. So that means that we don't experience good air quality every day of the year. Ozone is an issue in our summer months predominantly.
Okay.
So between June and August, for the most part, we can experience high levels of ozone above the federal health standards on a regular basis here in the Denver metro area and up and down the Front Range of Colorado.
Okay, so we actually are not at the level that we should be according to the federal government for air quality.
Right.
We're below that.
Most days we have good air quality. We're below the standard, but there are a number of days each summer that we have ozone levels that build up in our atmosphere close to the ground that we breathe that exceed those federal health standards. So we have what we call an Ozone Action Day or an Ozone Exceedance Day.
And I forgot to mention this, but I'm going to share this on our 9 Health page, and if you have questions for us, go ahead and ask us questions. We will try and get you answers. It's really we hear trucks going by, so we're outside downtown Denver on Market Street, so you're going to hear some loud noises, and we're going to try and talk really loud so people can hear us.
No problem there.
Because it's important, right?
It is.
So I am going to go ahead and share this, and please tell us a little bit more about, you say there is some good quality air action days and some days that are sunny like this. Tell us how that all happens. Like, why does it happen when it's sunny?
Well, sure. On a regular basis, day to day, we have emissions from vehicles, from industrial sources, oil and gas operations, consumer products, lawnmowers.
Lawnmowers?
Yes, paints and solvents. All kinds of sources contribute to the emissions that can form ozone. And that really happens best in a maybe not
best
a positive
is,
way.
Yeah, best or worst,
worst. On a hot summer day, because we need sunlight and warmer temperatures to drive this chemical reaction in our atmosphere to form ozone. So it's the emissions from vehicles, it's the emissions from those trucks that just went by, it's the emissions from cleaning products and lawn equipment that can cause ozone to form on a hot summer day. So a nice sunny day like today is a good day for ozone to form, which isn't a good thing.
For our breathing.
For our breathing.
So what are the health effects? So you talked a little bit about, ozone forming from some of the things that we do every day, like driving our cars, and mowing our lawns, and even some of the cleaning products, which surprised me.
Sure.
So what are some of the things that are causing this ozone that we may not be thinking about? When you say cleaning products, I'm like, which ones? I don't even know. I probably use some cleaning products that maybe are contributing, and I didn't even know it.
Well, sure. Well, most cleaning products have chemicals that will evaporate. And that evaporative emission from a household cleaner, whether it's a toilet bowl cleaner or furniture polish or a solvent that you might use to clean up some paint or a stain, that evaporates into our air. It can be an indoor air quality problem. You're breathing it directly, but when it wafts outdoors, it can form ozone with other chemicals that are emitted from those vehicles and those lawnmowers to form this ozone that we experience, especially in our warm summer days throughout the summer season here in the Front Range. It's a national issue. Many areas have the same high ozone situation during the warm summer months. And so what we try to do is reduce those emissions to an extent where there's not enough of them anymore to drive those high ozone concentrations.
Okay. And so there's simple things that each of us can do every day that might help. Is that right?
That's true. It's called Simple Steps, Better Air.
Aha!
Duh. And it's really easy things for most people to do on a regular basis. You drive less. You use products that don't contain those volatile organic compounds, VOCs, you might hear that phrase once in a while, that can evaporate and cause ozone. You can mow your lawn in the evening hours because it takes a while for those chemicals to react with sunlight to form ozone. So if you mow the lawn after 5 o'clock, if you refill your gas tank after 5 o'clock, totally easy.
Mow after 5, refill your car after 5.
Stop at the click when you're filling up at any time so that you don't get extra emissions from your vehicles, from your activities, your lawn and garden equipment that can form ozone throughout a day. Because at nighttime, the ozone driver, that sunlight is gone, and ozone levels will drop again to start all over the next day. So if we can cut those emissions down in the bulk of the daylight hours, we have better air quality as a result.
So just because I wonder, is it better to drive if you have to do an errand after 5 o'clock when the sun, or 8 o'clock when the sun goes down?
That's always better.
Okay.
What we try to do here at the Regional Air Quality Council is encourage people to drive less all the time.
Yeah.
So take those simple steps, even better, to take the simple steps. We're not asking people to give up their cars. We know that that's not realistic. We just want people to consolidate their trips. Don't, oh, I got to run to the store. Oh, I got to go pick up the kids from, the after-school activity or the summer camp.
Maybe
combine your trips, right? Do things all at once so you have fewer trips in a day. Fewer miles driven in a day. Carpool, van pool, ride the train, ride the bus, do things, ride a bike, ride an e-bike or an e-scooter. Those are all over downtown for better or worse.
I was going to say, some people would not think that's great. Yeah, it's good for air quality.
Yes, get out of the car as much as you can and reduce those trips. And even better, the next time you're considering purchasing a vehicle, buy an electric vehicle. There's more and more available where they get farther and further range on a charge, so people can drive further and do the things that they like to do in an electric vehicle, which doesn't have those emissions that cause ozone.
Okay, so you might have shared this with us before, but we are here at the Regional Air Quality Council. We're talking to Michael Silverstein, who's the executive director, and we're talking about ozone and air quality. And you talked a little bit about what are some of the things we might notice in our health, because we are 9 Health, right?
That's good.
And our little sign fell down, but we still are 9 Health. And so tell us a little bit about what we might notice and who might have some problems if there's a high ozone day.
Well, sure. The people have...
When the truck goes by, right?
Yes, well, there it goes. the folks that are most vulnerable to ozone are children, the elderly, and people with respiratory problems due to other reasons. Ozone irritates lung tissue. It makes it more difficult to breathe. And if you already have a respiratory problem, you're a child developing, you just don't want exposures to these high levels of ozone on a regular basis. We all get exposed to air pollutants from time to time, but if we can reduce that chronic long-term exposure, we improve public health. So it's the elderly with COPD, it's the asthmatics, it's kids playing outdoors, but it's you and I as well, because ozone makes it more difficult to breathe on a high ozone day. If we're out exercising, we're riding bikes, we're an extreme...
we like to be outside in Colorado.
Man, this is Colorado, and that's why people move here, that's why we live here, is because we like the outdoors. And the more that we're exposing ourselves, the worse it can be. So we want to do the things. We don't want to sit in the house and take cover. We want to do those things. So the other side of the coin is we've got to reduce those emissions. We have to take some action, whether it's those simple steps for better air that we talked about, or it's controlling emissions from industrial facilities through regulations or through voluntary means to drop those emissions down, improve ozone levels so we can continue to do the things that we like to do.
Right. And so if you actually have some of those conditions, you were talking about asthma or a lung condition, breathing condition, Would you advise people to stay inside during the high ozone days, or what's the remedy?
That really is the unfortunate remedy, is folks that are extremely ill or folks that are really worried about their health should limit their exposure. Stay indoors for a good part of the day on a high ozone day, especially that late afternoon and evening period when ozone can be at its highest level.
Okay, so late afternoon and
yes,
evening
it takes
is when
a while
it's
for
highest.
ozone to increase in our atmosphere from the morning hours when the sun comes up, the chemical reactions begin,
Yeah.
ozone starts to build throughout the day, and then peaks in the evening as then the sun goes down, and then
Goes our
that
sun.
chemical reaction is stopped.
Yeah.
So protect yourself
outside.
during that late afternoon, evening, if you're really worried about it or if you really have a serious medical condition. The rest of us, we should just be aware. We issue what's called an ozone alert if there's a problem. If we're forecasting that evening or even tomorrow to be a high ozone day, pay attention for those ozone alerts. You can sign up for an email alert through simplestepsbetterair.org.
There you
our
go. We'll post that
handy-dandy
website,
Thank you.
simplestepsbetterair.org, so you can get a alert every day to
Right.
know what the ozone is. And you were telling me a
And the
little
media
bit
too.
how there we go again.
I'll interrupt
That
you, but
has got
your-
some emissions going on right there.
Your station, 9 News, issues those ozone alerts
Yes.
for us. All the other media in Denver are partners with us through the media, through the websites, through emails, through the Department of Health and Environment, through the RAC. You
Yeah.
could find out if it's a poor ozone
Yeah.
forecast or not.
Yeah. And you were telling me that you measure that all the time along the
We
Front
do.
Range, and so you're able to predict almost when you might have those high ozone days, so you can plan accordingly.
Exactly. There's scientists, super smart guys and gals out there watching the ozone monitoring numbers and can determine if that ozone is going to exceed the health standard. We'll issue an alert. But those same scientists also know the weather conditions where ozone has a good chance of building up to then exceed that standard, and we'll issue a forecast based on the weather.
Okay.
It's going to be a hot, sunny day without a lot of thunderstorms, without high winds, so that ozone can build up, will blow away, and unfortunately, we get high numbers, but we then have the ability to forecast today, tomorrow, maybe even the next day,
Right.
about it's a high ozone period.
Right.
Take action to reduce your own emissions, and also protect yourself if you need to.
You were telling me that it's very interesting that our actual air quality today is better even with all the growth.
It is.
And tell
that's
us why
good
that
news.
is.
Well,
Yeah.
that's great news. We have more activity here in the Denver Front Range, in the Colorado Front Range than ever before. More industry, more people, more cars.
More cars!
But thankfully, those cars are cleaner than they used to be. The industry's cleaner than they used to be. Those consumer products are cleaner than they used to be. So we have more activity, but less emissions. We have the same weather generally, and so we have the same chances of having ozone conditions build up, but we have fewer emissions even with the growth that we've had and the growth we're projecting. We're hopefully going to have better air quality in the future if
So
we
the
continue
programs
to
are
do the
actually
things.
working.
They are,
And
but we
so-
need to do more.
And so the more we do, it's conceivable that we could do even better.
Right.
And so with those simple things that we do every day, maybe reducing our car trips and using the right kinds of products in your home, and maybe mowing after 5, right? Some of the things that are easy that you just talk to us about. If those other programs made a difference, maybe these things can make a difference as well.
That's right. We're looking at options here at the Regional Air Quality Council. What else could we do? What other things could industrial facilities do to reduce their emissions? How can we better get the word out for people to reduce their driving, use transit, purchase an electric mower or an electric piece of garden equipment instead of the gas-powered equipment in the future? That will reduce emissions and not change our lifestyle, not make us, hide in our homes and not do the things we like to do. Continue to do the things we like to do, but have fewer emissions as a result.
And I think it's important because it affects the health of all of us, right? Each of us can make a difference in the whole environment. And then those people who really do struggle with the asthma and lung problems can actually breathe better, and we're all going to be a little bit healthier if we can all just kind of chip in. I think that's kind of our takeaway, really, is the little things that we can do. Yeah.
It is important for our public health and for our economy.
Okay.
Nobody likes to locate a business in a poor air quality area. We want economic growth,
Yes.
we want activity, healthcare expenditures are enormous. Everyone knows how much they spend
Yes.
on healthcare and doctor visits. If we could reduce the asthmatic hospital admission or the amount of inhalers that people have to use just because of our high ozone,
That's right.
we're saving money.
That's
so
right.
it works both ways.
That's right. That's right. It's good for everyone.
It is.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
really thank you very much for joining us and sharing all this great information, and we appreciate the work that you're doing to help us all breathe a little easier.